All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we're going to talk about JuJu Smith-Schuster signing back with the Kansas City Chiefs and just kind of the impact of that deal. Now, you're probably saying, well, there's really no impact. There's no significant impact with this deal. Now, I probably lean more towards that side because the Chiefs receiving core is different than what it was when JuJu Smith-Schuster first left. Because last year, you had an inexperienced Rashid Rice, rookie. You had Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore. Now you still have a lot of those guys, but um, you know, there was there the receiving core was pretty lackluster, and especially going into that first game against the Lions, where Kadarius Toney just was terrible. He had those drops. One of them led to a pick six by Brian Branch, and it was just frustrating all year for the Chiefs' offense to operate. That's why they had to go out and bring back McCole Hardman, and despite all of that, the Chiefs still ended up winning the Super Bowl, so it didn't really matter. But um, now they signed Hollywood Brown, but he is unfortunately hurt. You drafted Xavier Worthy, and now Rashid Rice is going into his second season. So the receiving core is definitely going to be better. And on top of that, you still have Travis Kelce. Now, Travis Kelce, last year was kind of a down year for him. It was a challenging year for him. But when we got to the postseason, he looked like Travis Kelce. He looked like the Travis Kelce that we're accustomed to seeing. And now going into this year, now Kelce's getting older. But if he's going into the season healthy, we are going to see a better version of Travis Kelce during the regular season than what we did last year. Like, there was some talk about him losing a step, but I think it just had to do with injuries. I know Travis Kelce is eventually going to slow down because, Father Time catches up to everybody. But I think last year just had more to do with him being hurt to start the year. And, got hurt during the Vikings game. Like, it was a challenging year for him. But once we got to the playoffs, he looked like, how he's always been his whole career. So, but now when it comes to JuJu Smith-Schuster, I think he could be a good complementary piece on this offense. We talked about it during our production meeting yesterday, and we were asked about the impact of this move. Now, you had some people saying, he didn't do good in the Patriots offense, so it doesn't really, he's not really going to do good with the Chiefs, but I don't know. I kind of disagree to an extent. Like, I'm not going to say Juju's going to come back and he's going to be the number one receiver and he's going to be amazing. No. But he's still only 27 years old. And the Patriots offense last year was not good. And now you go from, Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones throwing the football to you, to now back to Patrick Mahomes throwing you the football. And the Chiefs are going to be able to, if Juju's going to play a part in this offense again, and, it's probably going to be in a more limited role than what it was when he was there in 2022, but he's going to be more productive with the Chiefs than he was with the Patriots. And these are his numbers from a couple years ago. He had almost 1,000 yards, over 900 yards receiving, 78 receptions, 3 touchdowns. I mean, he was their number one receiver a couple years ago. Because, the Chiefs, they had him. They still had McCole Hardman. I'm trying to think of who. Well, they had Kadarius Toney. They had Sky Moore. But Juju was kind of looked at as the number one receiver. And, now he comes back, but, the receiving core is a little bit more crowded now. And I think at this point in Juju's career, we kind of know what he is. He's not a number one wide receiver. Because that's what a lot of people thought in Pittsburgh when Antonio Brown left. was, okay, JuJu has shown that he could be a number one receiver. So they're going to be okay, the Steelers. But that was not the case. JuJu never put up, I mean, here he put up good numbers as a number one receiver, but that's now, with the Chiefs. But with the Steelers, 2019, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger gets hurt. It's just JuJu never really lived up to those expectations when Antonio Brown left in Pittsburgh. And, kind of going through his stats over the course of his career, 2017, he had 917 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. The following year, and this is in 2018 with Antonio Brown as, the number one receiver, he had 1,426 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. That is a solid year. But again, that's with Antonio Brown opposite of you. So then in 2019, when Ben Roethlisberger got hurt, he played in 12 games. He had 552 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. 2020, he had 831 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns, so not a bad year there. 2021 got hurt, only played in 5 games. And then I have the stats up from 2 years ago. And then with the Patriots, played in 11 games, 29 receptions, 260 yards receiving, and 1 touchdown. And like I said, still 27 years old. So I think he could come in and, if he gets a little bit of an expanded role, I think he'd be solid for them. I don't think he's going to put up numbers like that, but I do think bringing him in is beneficial for them because he knows the system. He was productive with the Chiefs the last time he was there. You go from an offense that's bottom 5 to an offense that's now top 5, mainly because of the quarterback that you're going to be playing with, who is the best quarterback in the NFL. So I think this was, again, it's not a seismic signing. This doesn't move the needle even more for the Chiefs. But I do think it's a good complementary piece. And we do have a comment from Shots Below the Belt. And I do think he's been in the chat before with my show here. And he said the Chiefs are clicking the panic button because of the whole Rice situation. Could be, because that is a good point. We still don't know. Is Rashee Rice going to be suspended? What's the situation there? Right now, nothing's happened. But if he does end up getting suspended and you don't have Marquise Brown, then that does make the signing more important. Now, I think the Chiefs will be able to survive because they're the Chiefs. But that is also a good point. If Rashee Rice gets suspended, well, it's really going to be about all these other receivers. McCole Hardman is still on the team. You still got Justin Watson. We'll see what happens with Kadarius Toney. I don't think there's any movement on that, on whether he's going to get cut or not. He really has kind of played himself out of Kansas City. I do have him in one of my dynasty leagues. So let me see if there's any updates on that front. No, there's doesn't seem like anything. So still on the team, but we'll see. And they still got Sky Moore as well. But yeah, this JuJu Smith-Schuster signing, if Rashee Rice does get suspended, that does make it more important. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But like I said, I don't think this is a seismic signing that, just moves the needle even more for the Chiefs. But I just think, it was, a low risk, high reward signing. If it doesn't pan out, he's not on the team. There was also some rumors floating around that maybe he could go back to Pittsburgh. I think some Steeler fans are not too enthusiastic over it just because of all the TikTok stuff and whatnot. But I do think that, going back to Kansas City was probably the better move for him. I don't know who else was showing interest, but that's just really my thoughts on this situation here. But yeah, the Chiefs play next Thursday, and I can't wait. Can't wait for that game. It's almost here. We just gotta get through this week, and then we'll be there. Now we got college football to bridge the gap a little bit, but we are around the corner, and we'll see. The Chiefs in action next week when they take on the Ravens. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think though about the JuJu Smith-Schuster signing. So before we go to break, I just want to remind you guys again to tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Hit the $ icon in the chat. That will help you make a super chat that gets put out on the broadcast. I'll acknowledge it during the live show. It just makes the show more interactive between me and you guys, the viewers. That's really what it's all about. And also an alternate way to help out the show is going to the link, which is GSMCPodcast.net. We appreciate your guys' viewership each and every day. So, yeah, but now when we take our break here, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Drake May's performance over the weekend and just, where that situation is at. Is he going to start? Is Jacoby Brissett going to be the starter? We'll talk about all that when we come back from our second break. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.